the madman, coming straight to you with movies, cigars, and a brew. Discussing movies while kicking back, whether they are good or they're bad. With the hottest movies and non-released, I am talking about details and what I see. So tune into the podcast while I vent with reviews, news, and nonsense, yeah.
And now, recorded live from the capital of the first state of these great United States, Keith.
Oh, I almost couldn't wait to get to this one tonight. This movie I'm going to talk about is Rogue One, a Star Wars story. It's clearly not Star Wars something else. This is a prequel. This comes before the events of A New Hope. Since the purchase of the Star Wars realm a couple of years ago, the reality of having a living, breathing Star Wars life was pretty interesting, both as a source of elation and trepidation. I mean, I can remember my 7-year-old self wishing that this day would come, that we could have a Star Wars movie every year. And then I also kind of remember back to the early 2000s when some of that might not be as wonderful as we might hope it would be. You know, we might say, you know, should we even do this? Should we have left this alone in a galaxy far, far away? But, you know, The Force Awakens did bring to life this entity again. They spent a lot of money for it. And it seems as though it might be in pretty good hands. I'm willing, myself, to kind of give them a pass and let them show us how this second act is going to play out. Reserving my own judgment that somehow this entire effort in the new realm might just feel a little smaller than the original. Smaller? How could I be saying smaller? What about this is smaller than the original? I mean, we've got lightsabers, we got battling, we've got TIE fighters, and an even bigger Death Star. How could it be smaller? In all of the realm of good versus evil, and this is a personal feeling of my own, it matters more. You can't be any bigger as a hero than the villain you face. In the original series, we saw one of the greatest villains of any movie series brought to life in the form of Darth Vader. There was something unbelievably large about the evil that this character can do. You know, just from the shiny black and the breathing and the tone of voice. Somehow he just transcended evil. Even though I personally know, having worn a Darth Vader helmet, it's kind of hard to see out of it. So you got to give the guy, give him credit, because I'm sure that was pretty restrictive over time. But so when you take a look at it and you look at The Force Awakens, they're both of them seem to be starting over, both good and evil to some extent, and hence it's kind of smaller. You know, the hero is not as great as Darth Vader, and therefore the heroine in this case can only measure itself against that. And I'm not saying it's bad. I think it's a different view. To me, it was a little bit like a sour note to extent. The world did not turn out the way everybody thought it would, and good versus evil is still out there fighting. So there's a certain beautiful nature to that. But so right off the bat, Rogue One's got something going for it, because it's tapping into that time where Darth Vader existed. As soon as you get into this movie, you feel that sense of oppression that's out there, because in this time, Darth Vader's walking around choking people out with this mere thought. So this starting right there before the New Hope has Felicity Jones playing an orphan girl, Jyn Erso. Her father is Galen, played by Mads Mikkelsen, and they're kind of hiding from the Empire. And it seems like you see the Empire coming up, and her father's taken away by Orson Krennic, who's played by Ben Mendelsohn, and ends up getting raised up to her 16th birthday by a guy named Saul Guerrera, who's played by Forrest Whitaker, and kind of reminds me a little bit of General Grievous with his seemingly metal legs walking around. And this Saul Guerrera is an extreme rebel, and his band sort of is a little bit at odds with the Alliance, because it thinks that they should be going further. We end up meeting her, Jin, through. She's in prison essentially, and she gets broken out by the Alliance. And if all of this sounds a little bit confusing, it sort of was in the movie. It kind of took the movie a while to get its feet. And and you kind of have to figure out what's going on, because there's an Imperial K2SO called K2 robot that sort of comes in and helps break her out. And you find out it's not the Imperial side, but it's the Alliance. The rebels are wanting her aid in getting to her father, who has been taken away for all this time, because he's the mastermind or of something big. They know. They don't know quite what yet, but what we know is that he was the mastermind behind the Death Star, and to protect his family, he kind of went along with it, but he built in something into the plans that he sends a pilot out to tell them, hey, you need to get the plans here. I've put something in. This can be used against the Empire. Let's do this. So the first act is a little bit modeled, but it really takes off as this band of would-be heroes gets together, and then there's bright spots in that cast of characters. One of the most endearing parts of the movie, or ones that I was reminiscent for me, was seeing the Imperial walkers in this giant epic battle scene. In a closed environment, which was craftily done. I mean, overall, this movie will have the most appeal to people, say, in that 35 to 40 generation that kind of wanted to see the growth of their beloved Star Wars beyond the first trilogy, and who have, like myself, come to see the world as not being just about black and white, and the world has lots of shades of gray. I mean, the rebellion has an underbelly here. I mean, it doesn't gleam white. They're employing unsavory tactics and unsavory characters to put forward their, ideals and message. Even the comedy that's offered by K2SO, K2 for short, the reprogrammed Imperial robot, is pretty adult in nature. It's the delivery and context and deadpan that he exhibits is far beyond what was shown in the original trilogy, and beyond certainly with C-3PO. This is the first time you see a really what I'd call a kick-ass robot doing some pretty amazing things. Obviously, it looks a little more CGI-ish than in the past. It's not a guy walking around in a suit. But I think another part of this movie that's great is Jin and her companions all do not come off as the most powerful people in the universe. You don't feel like, oh, they're the good guys, so we're going to find a way to make sure the good guys all make it out of here, and everything's going to work out perfectly for these guys. She is not precocious and all-knowing in every facet of everything like we saw in The Force Awakens. This is grittier. This is people trying to make a difference, and in the end, paying a pretty big price to get these plans away from there. All of that is really hinted and shown in one of the later movies. This was a great movie. I mean, it takes a little bit of time for it to find its footing, but truthfully, it launches a ride that is both plausible and satisfying. I highly encourage people to go see this if you're a fan of Star Wars. I even think it's a great movie, even if you're not. But certainly, everything that takes place in it kind of leads directly into the events that are in A New Hope. It's very craftily done. A lot of attention was paid to that detail and maintaining that continuity. You even see some CGI effects in the movie to bring some cameos by people that you might not have expected to otherwise be in the movie. And of course, towards the end, there is a little bit of candy for all of those people that want to see the embodiment of evil in the form of Darth Vader. He is in this movie, and he is pretty impressive in his part. It's what you would expect. This is an adult tale. I think it was perfect. It was definitely a treat for all those kids like myself. Basically, you will see a lot of favorable ratings coming out of this movie. It probably is as good as most of the stuff that we've been offered yet. It probably ranks right up there with Empire. This is a good one. So it is a little shaky at getting its footing, but it's well worth a watch. So I'll play the trailer here after a couple of words, and I encourage you all to go out and see this one. I give it an A-, only because of the shaky start. Otherwise, it'd be a solid A. But it's definitely completely enjoyable, and I actually want to go see it again. Talk to you soon.
You have been listening to the Movies, Cigars, and a Brew podcast. You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Spreaker, and Stitcher. Find reviews of other movies, cigars, and beers at moviescigarsandabrew.com. Give a like on Facebook or follow Keith on Twitter at Movie Cigar Beer. Your trailer is coming up next.
The world is coming undone. Imperial flags reign across the galaxy.
Can you be trusted without your shackles?
Let's just get this over with, shall we?
We've a mission for you. A major weapons test is imminent. We need to know how to destroy it.
If you're really doing this, I want to help.
Good.
Good. I've been recruiting for the rebellion for a long time.
We destroyed our home. I fight the Empire now.
I fear nothing. All is as the Force wills it.
The captain says you are a friend. I will not kill you.
Thanks. There isn't much time. Every day they grow stronger.
There is a 97.6% chance of failure.
He means well.
This is our chance to make a real difference. Are you with me?
All the way.